we know how to apply the policies, standards, and best practices. But now there is one more major area, which is permissions, right? We need to understand how we can efficiently handle the permission management and the privileges management. So that is where the role-based access control, the RBAC, comes into play, where you might need to have separate level of engineers, maybe L1 team, L2 team. You might have the role-based support from database administration, or if you want to have separate team for network administration, security administration, you might have to create separate role based on their privileges and permissions that we need. And this is mainly a permissive model, right? Like a allow model. So when you assign a set of permissions or privileges to a particular um, individual, or it generally like the permissions and privileges are assigned to a group, but you can also very much assign it to a user, or in Azure, we also have the managed identity. That is nothing but a service account that gets created for like let's say backup or patching, for monitoring, for those particular requirement. You can also go and create a service account, and you can assign the permissions and privileges. So that way you can assign them the safe set of thing, right? What they can do, whether they can read or write or modify or create or delete or whatever, right? So you can go and allow the permissions based on their job level and the roles and responsibilities. Of course, the RBAC is driven through the RACI matrix. We call it as RACSI, RACI matrix, or RACI matrix, where we know who is responsible for what, and who should be informed and consulted for certain areas. So the RBAC is a model through which you can go and create the permissions and stuff. So we start creating something called role definition. So role definition is where we define what are the different set of activities, the tasks, the responsibilities of that particular individual, and we go and give the list of tasks and privileges through the role definition. Once the role definition is created, let's say VM administrator is a kind of role definition, and then database administrator is a kind of role definition, security admin, something like that. So these are all group of privileges that a particular individual can be assigned to. And once after the role definition is created, we need to do the role assignment. So role assignment is the process of assigning the role to a particular individual or a service account. So assigning the role to a particular group or specific user or service principal, or we call it as managed identity here. So we can the process of assigning the role to a particular individual or a group is called the role assignment. And we can also do it at various level, and the scope is something which we have already discussed. So we can assign the role definitions and assignments at the management group level, subscription level, or resource group level, or the resource level. So this is something, it depends on organization to organization. Some organization might have help desk team, service desk team. They might have separate set of application development, DevOps engineers, site reliability engineers, security administrator. So based on organization way of calling the roles and grouping the people, we might have to go and create separate role definitions, and we have to assign the role assignment. So this is a kind of area where solution architect has to consider how you can manage it. At times we might get confused between Azure policy and Azure RBAC, but I'll come to that comparison shortly. But before that, we will get into the slide to quickly see what we have here. Okay, so role-based access control, or back. There are three different things: who, what, and where. Who is nothing but the individual identity, right? Who can be a specific user or a group or a service account or a service principal. What is the set of activities, the set of permissions that we could apply. where is the scope. Okay, the management group, subscription, and the logical hierarchy is what we call it as where. So these three things work together for the access management. See, identity is something that we create in Microsoft Entra, or we might use hybrid identities. We might already have an existing identity system, maybe Windows Server, Active Directory, or some third party directory service. You can use federation, or you can use single sign-on using the existing identity, but this is mainly on the access management, authorization, not the authentication. Authentication is something that the directory services tool will take care of, but the authorization is the permissions management area. It validates what level of permission, what kind of tasks that the individual is authorized to do, and the Azure Resource Manager will check and assign the permission. Okay, so it can be managing the VM or network or security products or databases, or it can be website or web application or functions. So based on the role, based on the team, they will get the necessary activities to do. See, similar to what we have in the traditional environment, right? Everything revolves around the same logic. See, either it is your Windows or Linux or operating systems. Let's say when you take OS level files and folders permissions, um, irrespective of the operating system, right? In Linux, we call it as directories and files and so on. But at the end, it is combination of three different things: read, write, execute, or read, write, modify. So those are the basic three different things: read, right, and then modify permission. So if you go to files and folders in Windows operating system, the bare minimum what you see is these things, right? So you get read, write, which is modify, or full control, something kind of. And that is what you have here in the cloud also. Any cloud like Azure or AWS or any cloud, if you go, these three things are the same, like the owner, contributor, and the reader. So reader is nothing but your basic level of permissions, which is the read permission. Okay, and then you have this owner who has got full control on all the resources. Contributor is someone who can modify things. So that is the same logic, right? So anywhere you go, OS level or network level or any specific technology. So the three basic foundation is these things. So these are all fundamental way of assigning stuff: reader, contributor, and owner. Whereas you might go and create as many number of roles that you want, and Microsoft Azure already provides you a lot of default role through Entra and even through Azure specific. They also have a predefined roles and stuff, which I can show you quickly to make things clear. So if you go to the subscriptions or resource group or any level, you have an option called IAM, Identity and Access Management, where you control the access, where you have the authorization activities control. So if you go here, you have a lot of built-in roles, which is pre-populated, pre-provided by Microsoft. These are all the built-in roles. And if you want to create your own role, you can go and add the custom role, which is necessary for your organization. I've also created many, and I've also shown a demo during the administration class. You can go and create roles for database administration, VM administration, and you can create whatever custom role that you want with a specific set of activities. So you can also create it from the scratch, or you can clone an existing role and create it as per the requirement. There are hundreds of pre-created built-in roles that are already available. See, this is for your Azure specific. But if you go to Microsoft Entra has got roles which are across your Microsoft commercial cloud services. So it might have roles for your M365, it might have roles for Intune, Dynamics, and so on. So here also you can see a similar thing called roles, where Microsoft Entra has got roles for all the Microsoft commercial cloud services. So it might have something for Teams, something for SharePoint, something for Exchange. So you can see there is a lot of roles created here. So Microsoft Entra roles are common across all the Microsoft commercial things. You can see there are roles for Intune, and you might also see some roles for Dynamics. Whereas Azure also has its own specific roles for things. So these are two different things. Entra is controlling all the different Microsoft commercial cloud related roles, whereas specific to Azure, you can see those things at the subscription level, or even if you go to resource level or resource group level, you can very much see those things. The same thing can be done at any level. So if you go here, even here you will see the IAM access control, where you can assign a specific role, and you can also go and check what kind of roles we have for a specific individual. For example, I can go and check for my name, and it will tell you like what Stan as an individual has got permission. So he's the owner for the subscription, and it has been created and assigned at the subscription level. That is where it is getting inherited from. So even you can go and assign it from the management group level, or even you can assign it at the resource group level, and you can get things. Okay, so if I'm logged in with some specific ID, I can also go and check my own access and then see who I am and where exactly it is getting assigned from. And there are options where you can go and do privileged identity management, and have the PIM assigned, so they can go and use those roles only when it is needed. So that is something we will discuss a little later. But for now, so this is where you go and control the permissions at various scope. So scope is nothing but you can apply it at management group level, subscription, resource group, and resources. So the access permissions will be allowed and inherited through these things. You can assign the role to a user, group, or a service account, and get that assigned. So role-based access control is assigning the permissions based on the role of the individual at various different Microsoft Azure resource hierarchy level. Okay, so you can also assign it through the Entra thing, where certain roles like global administrator, or if you want a particular person to handle all the different things the EA enrollments, or if you want to give them only specific access to specific subscription, you can also do that. Okay, so based on the person's scope, if he is responsible only for a particular subscription or a particular region, you can also go and assign them that specific permission. So there are two different things that you can see in the role definition, like actions and not actions. These are not exactly same like allow and deny in your traditional permission model, but this is slightly different from how the traditional model looks like, but it has been built on the same traditional permissions model, right? So role-based access control is little advanced, but it is built on the legacy allow deny permission model that we used to have on the files and folders and stuff here. So role assignment is assigning the specific set of permissions for a particular individual or a group or a managed identity or service account to a particular scope. So this is what solutions architects should have a understanding on how the rollback is, the RBAC is handled for your organization. So now coming to the comparison, see, RBAC and policy are two different things. Policy is mainly to control the standards, compliances, and permissions for your organization, whereas RBAC is mainly for the permissions management, access management, authorization control. Okay, so authorization control is different, policy control is different. So this is mainly focused on the properties of the resource, the policy, and RBAC is mainly focused on what level of permissions, what level of access, what kind of activities that a particular individual can do on each and every resources. You can apply it at any levels, and you can also do that for the policy. So policy is for applying the compliance and achieving some best practices and standard, whereas RBAC is mainly for permission handling. You can have them together. Okay, you can apply both RBAC and Azure policy together to have a better governance and better environment. So last one on the list is the landing zone. So landing zone, I'm not sure, like many people might have different understanding from that particular terminology, but see, landing zone, let me just go to that slide quickly. Sorry, yeah. So landing zone, it provides a, see, from Microsoft definition, it says it provides a infrastructure environment for hosting your workload. So I will give you a quick analogy. See, let's say you have a shared let's say like you have a home, or you are going into a new home, and the government or the corporation is providing you the water, the gas, the electricity, the shared city utilities, right? So only thing that you are doing is you are building a new home and you are not doing anything for the shared city utilities that are already there available, and you just have to go and subscribe for the water service or electricity service or gas service, and you get that readily available. So similarly here in the cloud in Microsoft Azure, what Microsoft has given you as an option, in the same manner, the network, the identity, the access control, the connectivity, the policies, the monitoring, the access management. So those are all certain things that you can pre-create and make it available for the landing zone. So landing zone is something, for example, if you're moving workload for SAP, you have a landing zone already pre-created for SAP. You have a landing zone pre-created for your corporate application. And if you have some online apps, there is a landing zone that is kept and ready. So which means, so what we are telling here, so Azure landing zone is a infrastructure environment that is readily available, and you can go and create it from the template that Microsoft has got. So they provide something called landing zone accelerator. It is infrastructure as a code in short to understand it. So they provide you the infrastructure as a code, so you can go and deploy that landing zone. That is the foundational best practice, foundational principle that you can deploy for your organization. And once after it is deployed, like how the shared city utilities are available for your new home. So if you are migrating some new application or new services to Microsoft Azure, the landing zone is already available. So the utilities for the landing zone here represents the identities, the permissions management, the policy management, the network connectivity, and all those things are readily available. So this is how generally Microsoft recommends to create the subscriptions and keep the landing zone ready. So it is a easier way to pre-provision the environment through infrastructure as a code. So here we use ARM templates to deploy the environment. So landing zone will consist of management groups. It will consist of certain subscriptions. So you can go and deploy them based on your business requirement and priorities, and you can go and adjust them. You can go and clean up or delete the unwanted things. And you also have the Azure policies and Azure role-based access control available and handled through infrastructure as a code. So a landing zone can support application migration, or if it is a existing customer, or if it is a new customer like a greenfield deployment or a brownfield deployment. So it can support both of them. You can go and deploy the landing zone, and then you can migrate the application to the landing zone respective area for your SAP, for your corporate and other things. Or you can, if you want to have all of them together into a particular management group, you can also have it. So this is the management group list. Okay, so this is how you create it. You create separate management group for sandbox testing, landing zone for production, and for something which is decommissioned and you want to keep them for some time, you can keep that for the cool down period in the decommission subscription. And if you want to have the platform specific thing, this is the IT specific area, right, where you have the identity management and connectivity, network connectivity subscriptions created. So this is how generally Microsoft recommends the customers to go and create it. And Azure landing zone accelerator is readily available for you to go and deploy it. It will help you to go and deploy associating with your intra tenant, and you can expand, scale your landing zone. It is very much scalable. Okay, so that is how they have designed it. And for any customer requirement, this can be expanded, and you can add more management groups, subscriptions. And this is an Azure proven landing zone design that many customers are already using for their greenfield deployment, as well as for the brownfield migrations of their workload. Okay,
What
before we
are the languages used for this infrastructure as a code? What are the best languages?
Okay, so for infrastructure, the default one are the ARM templates. Okay, so that has been the standard for last 10 years, but now customers are looking for the languages to be common across different deployments, right? For example, for their application development, they are using Python, and for automation, they are using Python, right? So they want to use the same Python tool for infrastructure as a code also. So that way, there are certain organization which goes with Python, and if it is a multi-cloud environment, there are organization which goes for Terraform or Pulumi, or based on the region, there are different customers who are using different tools. This is mainly for multi or hybrid cloud environment. They might use tools like Terraform and Pulumi. But then only if it is Azure specific and Azure only, then ARM template is the preferred option. And nowadays customers are inclining towards the Azure Bicep tool, which is language agnostic. You can go and use your own favorite tool. It is a domain specific language. You can use what you call Go language or Python language or Java. So based on your requirement, this is a, DSL where you can declaratively create Azure resources. But most of the existing customer environment, it is all ARM templates, mainly created using JSON templates. It's a JSON language. That's what they have used it for templating. But different organization might have their own standards. It depends on how they have placed their workload. If they have placed their workload in multi-cloud, they might use Terraform and Pulumi. But if they want to have the same DevOps team managing the application, the DevOps tool chain, and the infrastructure deployment, then they might go for something like Python as well. Yeah.
Those languages are, like free, or it's like a license will be added to as an extra charges on it.
No, these are all free of charge. So there is no
Free.
cost for the ARM template, but for the resources that you are creating, of course, as you know, they are all chargeable, right? So the resources are
Yeah.
chargeable, but the tool is free of cost, especially the ARM template, the bicep that comes with Azure is free of cost. But third party, there are certain free versions and there are certain licensed version. If you're going for Terraform or Pulumi, there is a cloud version. There are some licensed versions also available for consumption.
Thanks.
Yeah, sure. So coming to the case study, so I hope there are no questions until now, right? So we have covered these topics so far, and these are the stuffs that will be utilized in the upcoming case study. Okay, so we have discussed about, let's say, let me go to the screen. So we have talked about management group, subscription, resource group, Azure policy, RBAC, tagging, and the landing zone. These are the areas that will be covered on the case study that we are going to discuss now. Okay, so there is a customer who want to implement the workloads on Microsoft Azure. So these are the requirements that they have got. Okay, so they want to have some recommendations and suggestions from the solution architect. And let's make note of certain things here and the key important points from that case study one. Let me just. So case study one, the customer name is Tailwind Traders. So this is the company, the customer, right? And the very first thing that they are saying is they have got two main business unit, apparel and sporting goods. So these are the two BU. Okay, so they have got two main business unit. Just a second. So we have got, so each business unit has got three different departments. Okay. Now, and they're saying each business unit summit will be responsible for tracking their Azure spend. Okay. So they want to have tracking at each BU level. Spend tracking at BU level. Okay. And they're also saying that there is an enterprise IT team who will be responsible for providing the company-wide Azure cost reporting. That is also something that they have mentioned. So there is an enterprise IT team who will be taking care of the billing, and there will be a tracking at the BU team or a BU level. They also want to have the cost tracking. So now they are saying there are some new development activities that are going on, and the company has a new development project for customer feedback, and the CFO wants to ensure that all costs associated with the projects are captured. For the testing phase, workload should be hosted on the lower cost VM. So they are saying that they also want to have some level of control here, right? They also want um, workloads to be controlled. Workloads should be deployed in a controlled manner. Okay, so which clearly says that we need to use Azure policy here, right? So that's how you can restrict what you can create and what you should not create. So they want to have the selective virtual machines created, and also they want to have a proper naming, and they also want to understand how the resources are created and how to go and search and index the resources. So clearly that says that we need to have a proper naming and tagging standard, right? So that is something they are expecting. And any instances on non-compliance with resource consistency rules should be automatically identified. Again, that is also saying relating to Azure policy. So Azure policy will tell us which are the resources which are not compliant. And again, I will also tag here. So if you want to have the billing at the BU level, then they are talking about Azure subscription here, right? So that is something you need to capture it here. Okay, so let me move this a little bit here. Okay, fine. So now coming to the other questions that they have got here for us. What are the different ways Tailwind traders could organize their subscription and management group, which could be the best to meet the requirements? Design two alternative hierarchies and explain your decision making process. Okay, so they are saying like there could be more than one way of doing this. So let's try and come up with two different hierarchy model. So let's see like what are the pros and cons of each of the model. And then what are the different ways Tailwind traders could track cost for the new development project? How are you ensuring compliance with the requirements for virtual machine sizing, naming? That's fine. Propose at least two ways of meeting the requirements. Okay, fine. And explain which one is the better one. Okay. And they are saying like it has to follow the well architected framework pillar. I know like you might not have a detailed understanding on that. That is something which I'm going to explain in details after the break, right? How well architected reviews can be done to ensure that the environment is secure with high quality, high availability and stability, right? So I'll come to that shortly. Now we have this case study and I will try to put together a diagram here. So there are many different tools that you can use for putting together the diagram. So generally, Visio is one of the popular tool, but that is a licensed one. But you can use something like Draw.io or similar tool sets for the purpose of creating a diagram or architecture. Let me just wait and see if it is opening up. Is there a question? I could see there is a background noise. Let me reshare my screen. Just a second. Okay. Yeah, so it has taken some time. I thought there is some issue, but it's loading. Let me share my screen again. Okay, I'm sharing my screen again. So Draw.io is one of a very easier tool to create architecture diagram for cloud specific, especially for on-premises for your existing environment. It might not be the right one, but yeah, for the cloud, this is much better. So I've created a new file and I'm just going to start a fresh here. So let me remove the grid and things so that way it looks neat and clean here. So you can go and download more shapes into your pictures repository on your local machine. So that will add a lot of icons. So you can go and download it. So here I want to start with management group. So you can go and search for the resources. So I've got the icons for both Azure, AWS, and different things. I can just put the management group here. And at the top, they have, see, we can start with the root management group. Let's say Let me also add this. So this is tenant root management group. Okay, let me just have something more here. Let me just delete this. Okay, at the top level, so they have clearly indicated us they have got two business unit. So let's say this is version 1. Okay, so I will also create version 2. So I will have two management groups for two business unit. Okay, so they have given it as apparel MG, and they have got sporting goods MG management group. Okay, so now on when you if you just click on that, it gives you arrow mark. So wherever like if you want to have it like this, you can just click on that and connect it. And now we need to have the subscriptions created. Okay, so they've got many different departments. One is your production. What are the names? I forgot it. Product development, marketing, and sales. Product development. So this is there for each and every subscription. Okay, and they also have the sales, so you can copy paste it for the other management group also. So now this is kind of having three different substructure. So now what you can do is you can assign the policies. Okay, so this is the Azure policy thing. You can apply it for each of your subscription. Azure policy 1, and you can also go and assign the tags. So that way the tags are properly assigned to capture the different things, right? Like cost center, and then like let's say department, business unit, uh, the application. So you can create as many tags as you want, but tagging is very, very essential that you need to apply it at the resource group level or sorry, the subscription level and so on. So below that, you can also go and create resource groups for your applications. So you can go and create resource groups and then store your resources. So here you can just say app resource group 1, and then similarly you can have app resource group. You can connect the dots, but I'm just going rough here. So this is one kind of version that you can create as a solution architect where it meets the need of the expectation. So they want to spend the tracking at the subscription level. So if they want to do it, so it is not mandatory that you need to have the management group here. So you can directly have two different management group, like let's say, let me duplicate this. See, this is version 1 or option 1. And what I'm thinking is this is a large scale deployment. So I want to have one more level of management group layer where I can assign certain policies and initiatives at the management group level. And I can control a lot of things at the 2BU level, to business unit level. Whereas at the option 2, so the requirement that they have asked is like they don't want too much of the requirement says they just need two different billing criteria or billing element, right? One for apparels, and then the another one for what is that? Sporting goods. And you can directly create the resource group and apply the policies and tax at whatever level you want to. And these resource groups can be like the department, marketing, sales, and those things. Sales and whatever, right? You can just create them for each and every resource group, and you can just have them like this. So if it is a mid small to mid size, you don't have to complicate this. See, the way this is very efficient, you get one bill for each business unit, and as an IT team, you are only managing two different subscription. See, there is a catch here, right? That's what they have added as an additional indicator. The enterprise IT team will be responsible for providing company-wide Azure cost reporting. So the efficient way of handling it is creating less number of subscription. So that way you can reduce the complexity of pulling the report and providing the cost governance reporting every month or every week. If there is a recurrent connect, the IT team will be easily consolidating them. But if you have more number of subscription, it is little challenging for them. They need to rely upon the tax and other ways of handling it. So in this case, so let's say like currently it is 6, and maybe if they want to have more number of environment, it might get created like it might become 12. And then if they have 3 different environment for each application, it might double again like 24 and so on, right? Then the IT team will have challenges in the cost reporting across the company wide. So the company wide reporting is specifically mentioned in the case study. Then you need to consider what is the efficient way of doing it. So this one is very efficient and simple to handle it, but you can also do it like this. And if it is only 6 subscription at the end state, then yeah, I think the future state is what you need to consider. The roadmap is
And
something we need to understand. Yeah, go ahead.
so one of the requirements is each business unit and subunit will be
Mm,
responsible for tracking. So if we
correct.
consider a subunit also responsible, then each subunit requires a subscription.
Separate subscription, yes.
Either way.
Yeah, yeah. So that's how you have to go, and you can have separate subscriptions for see the uh, things
So
has to be mhm,
one of the option I was thinking maybe it's not feasible that we create management groups at the department level or the type of department, development, production, and marketing. And
mhm.
under development, we have separate subscription for two BUs for each BU.
Perfect, perfect. Yeah, I think yeah that's another option. Yeah, very true. So like option 3, like what you can do is now instead of okay, let me just duplicate it, and I will come to the
And
third
with
option.
this option, probably we can control the development cost because the development will happen in across both business units.
Correct, correct. So let's do this. So now you can go and have the root management group. See, directly instead of having the tenant root management group, you can just call it as rename it as Tailwind management group, and then directly you can go and start creating separate subscriptions for each and every department, or like you can just do this way. Okay, let me. So this one will be for product development, and then you will also have one more for marketing, and then you will have one more for sales. And below the structure, sorry, okay, below the structure you can go and have the subscriptions for apparel and for the what is that for sporting goods. Okay, you can also control the other way around. See, the solution architect job is to see how the business want to align it. So some will give you hint of that the layer should be the other way around. Then you can also go and do it. See, there is no hard and fast tool that it has to be created per business unit and then department. It can also have the management group created and at the department level, and then you can have the BUs for each of the department, like the apparel and sporting goods will be available for each of your There are many ways to handle it. That's what I was saying, right? So you can, it's up to you as a solution architect to collaborate, sorry, and then come up with a final option. There are more than one option for every single case study or solution, right? But this is the most efficient way from the list of questions here. But if you add one more question, as you said, then we might have to think of having the subscriptions see, you cannot have multiple layers of subscription. That is something you need to understand. Subscription cannot be a member of subscription. So the hierarchy is this way. You can have management group under management group, right? But you cannot have subscription under subscription. So that's where you need a wisely solution, how many subscriptions you can create and at which level. So if you want to create it at one more level higher, you can also do it. Or if you want to create it first and then have resource groups directly, that is also possible. So simplify it, okay? Don't overcomplicate it. Try to have the resources created in a way that it's easy to manage, organize, and govern. This is mainly for design for governance, right? So this is how you can easily govern it. So any questions? There are two alternatives that we have designed here, and see there are pros and cons with each of this model. So you get too many subscription. This will be a challenge for the IT team, but this model is a very easy one for IT team because the global IT team can just pull two reports from the invoices from subscription to subscription, and they can report it. See, there are ways you can go and get the report. I can show you that. See here, if you go to cost reporting. So there are ways you can get the report at the resource group level, but that is going to be a lot of additional work that you perform. So let's say cost analysis, or if you want to get the report, direct invoice is available at the subscription level. But if you want to filter by resource or resource group or services or reservation, here is where you have to come and filter down. And if there are more number of subscription, then it is going to be challenging for getting for the IT team to get the report from multiple areas and get them uh, consolidated. Right, we have to export and then consolidate them. There are third-party tools that are available where you can use the tagging to go and get this. It is clearly telling us these are the only two resource groups where the resources are currently present and we are consuming cost, and we can go and get download the report per resource group or even per reservation category or per purchasing option. There are many ways to pull the report, but for the IT team to provide company-wide cost reporting, if there are more subscription, it will be challenging for them. Less number of subscription, easier way of consolidating and providing the report. Since the case study has explicitly called out for that, we need to try and reduce the number of subscriptions we create. Okay, so I would prefer for this option 2, considering that category. So you also get separate bill for apparels for each BU. So that is the first requirement they have got, right? Each BU should have separate tracking and invoice at BU level. So we have achieved that here by creating two different subscription. And for the IT team to get the consolidated company-wide cost reporting, they just have to consolidate only two invoices from two different subscription. And also for each BU, the departments has got isolation using the resource group level, and the isolation is provided. And you also have Azure policy, tagging, and see, these are all very, very important. Okay, so you need to identify the right tool, right mechanisms, right tags for controlling and governing the cost, compliance, and best practices. Okay, so these are the different services that we need to use: management group, subscription, resource group, and of course any specific resource you want to have, you can go and create add VMs and stuff. So Azure virtual machine. And there are two other services like Azure policy has to be used because we need to apply the policy and get the non-compliance report. And we also need to get easier way of searching and pulling the report. That is something which we can do through tagging and proper naming convention. So that's what they are telling us we need to have proper indication of which project this particular resource belong to, whether it belongs to project 1 or project 2 or program 1 or program 2. You can easily identify using the tagging mechanism, and any non-compliance report can be pulled from Azure policy tool. Right, so these are the 6 or 5 different products and services which we need to use from Azure console to have a proper governance strategy. So we have come up with 3 different options, but whichever best suits based on the discussion with the stakeholder, you can go with that particular option. So any questions or any more discussion needed on this particular case study? Of course, RBAC is something we need to apply. So role-based, I don't think there is some thing for that, but yeah, permissions also has to be applied so that the controls are properly governed.
On this case study, it is, like the exam will face something like that.
Yeah, you will also get questions like this, or else like you might also get questions like this one. Let me show you. This is exactly the same thing that is represented in a exam question format. So let me show that. So it is again a case study. Okay, so here you have a case study that you have to read and answer the questions in the exam, right? So now let me see. Okay, so Tailwind Traders is planning on making some significant changes to the governance solution. So these are the requirements, and they are asking the solution architect to provide some recommendations, and they want to have consistency across the subscription. So each subscription has different policies for the creation of the VM. So they want to have some level of consistency. The IT department would like to standardize the policies across the Azure subscription. So which means they are talking about Azure policy product or tool from Microsoft Azure to control the creation of VMs, right? And the second thing is they want to ensure critical storage is highly available. So they also want to control what kind of storage account they are creating, and whether it has got local redundancy or global redundancy or zone redundancy. So that is something which we can control using, again, Azure policy, or we can also have some controls. Identify research and development costs. So the CFO wants to know the cost estimate for a new project. So they want to pull the report. So they are talking about subscription here. And they also saying that they also want to have ISO standard compliance applied. So they are talking about the initiative. Okay, so ISO 27000 is one of 27001 is a kind of cloud compliance initiative that they want to apply. The standard requires resource groups, policy assignment, and also they want to have the templates, which is nothing but the IAC code that they are talking about. Maybe the landing zone is what they are referring to. So they are asking some questions here. How can Tailwind traders ensure policies are implemented across multiple subscription? So can you guys try to answer? Maybe let me try to help you correct it if you are choosing the wrong answer here. So that way, at least I will know.
Create a management group and place all the relevant subscription
number
in the
two.
management group. Number
Oh,
two.
Okay, so create a management group and place all the subscription. Right, this is the correct one. Yes. Okay. Second question.
sure, application.
The growth
Secret,
Right, will be
obviously.
Azure policy that
Azure
requires
policy that
add
require
a Azure policy that requires
two
GRC.
Yeah,
or
perfect.
three.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So see, 2
Three.
is not something. Yeah, 3 is the right answer.
Thanks, okay.
See, the reason that 2 was selected by one of you is that it talks about geo redundancy and it gives you highly available thing. See, they have not mentioned about whether they want 99.99 or 99.95, because like they have not indicated anything to go with global geo redundancy or zone redundancy, because Microsoft provides you 3 level of redundancy: local, zone, and geo level. The zone is like data center level redundancy, whereas geo is regional level redundancy. So here what you can do is you can add a Azure policy that gives you the control to, I think policy is the best way of governing it. Here we are talking about how we can have a proper governance solution, right? We have to use a selective tool. So
Policy.
add Azure policy is the right option, which can enforce different rules on your resource configuration. Third question.
Third is the tag. I think tag is the right one.
Okay,
think
so how
first,
can
first and second should be
add
both.
resource group to identify? Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so you can add tag so that you can get the cost of a new product, whatever they are adding. So each product, whatever resource they are creating, if they are tied to that or if they are tagged to that new product, you can easily get that Azure tag is the right answer. So Azure tag provides, it's the metadata, right? It provides you the extra information and any resource or anything that you provide, you can run a report and you can get using that particular tag. So other things, it is all, see, sometimes you might also go with elimination strategy, right? So there might be some easy way to eliminate some of the answer. So adding spreadsheet, definitely it is not a good practice. And then adding a resource group and moving all the product assets into the group. Yeah, it looks like a good option, but then tagging is the best governance method of getting the report for a new product. Okay, so since if you go to this cloud here, so if you go to the cost analysis, so you have the option to go and get the reports here, and also you can go and let me show you one more thing. You can group by the billing period, frequency, and you also have the option to go and get the tag based reporting. See, that's what we are talking about. So if you have some tags applied, so you can go and get the product specific, new product specific tag, and that will show you what is exactly the cost for that particular resource which are tagged into that new product category. I think you guys are
But
pretty much.
also the group, like group resources will be fine
Yeah,
also.
yeah, it is fine.
This
See,
is,
you can also
I
do that.
think, and if I were, I will just select the group one.
True. I mean, yeah, you can do it very much, but see, that is not the most efficient way of handling it. Microsoft recommends to use tagging as a mechanism when it comes to cost associated reporting. See, Microsoft is giving you a lot of way of doing things. You can get the report at the resource group level, which is, yeah, very easy thing to do. But sometimes it might get complicated when you want to create a resource for that new product in a different region or in a different area, then it gets a little complicated. But if you have tagging anyway, it will capture it. If you create it in different region or different resource group or different subscription with the tag for the new product, whether if it is scattered across any different levels, you will be able to quickly get the report. But yeah, I think both are almost possible
Thanks.
solution.
Yeah.
So that's where everywhere you get option 1 and option 2, right? But best option is option 1, I would say. Even you can achieve that by option 2.
Thank you.